Hi. Thank you very much, Meena, for being on my podcast. It is a lovely way to start the week. We're recording this episode on a Monday morning. It is the start of January, a grey morning, but a lovely, delightful guest and a really nice way to start the week. So thank you for being here.
Oh, I'm absolutely delighted and really excited and a little bit nervous.
Oh, no. Oh well, it's we're all really really chilled and relaxed here, and we want this to be a welcoming place for both our listeners and the guests. I am really thrilled to have a storytelling extraordinaire on the podcast, so we're definitely going to drill into that side of things. But first and foremost, I'd just like to know what drew you towards marketing, and what you like and dislike about this profession of ours.
Oh, it's an incredible profession, isn't it? And I could talk about this all day, but it's funny. You have some people who say when they're little that they know what they want to be and they know what they want to do,
Yes.
and all those things. Well, I wasn't one of those. I wasn't one of those, and it wasn't kind of like marketing was my passion. It was what I wanted to do. I
Yeah.
had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do. One thing I did know though is
Mm.
that I wanted to leave home. I
Yes.
wanted to fly, and if I'm being brutally honest, this was my ticket out.
Yeah.
It was my ticket out to go to university and to leave home. So I didn't care what I did.
Mm.
So I went off and I did a business course in Manchester. So I moved away there, and then yeah, I had to specialise in my second year. And in those days, I had three options, and they're probably called different things now, but it was marketing, which has always been called marketing, personnel, which I think they would refer to as HR now, or
Yeah.
finance. So I chose the three of the best of the three evils, if you see what I mean. I thought finance just isn't, I just find it boring, and I wasn't really keen on personnel. So I thought, well, I'll go with marketing. And then I
Mm.
specialised in that, ended up doing a postgrad in marketing, and kind of went into a career of it. And that's like over 30 years ago. And I've been in it ever since. And it has changed considerably. So I was very much university trained in a very different way, probably taught in a very different way to maybe people are now. I'm not sure. But
Mhm.
it's very traditional marketing. But as an industry, it's so exciting because there's so much to go at.
Yeah.
There's so much to go at. It isn't just, one of the things, if you said what I don't like, is sometimes when I say to people, oh, I do marketing, they'll say to me, oh, is that social media? And it's
Yeah.
like, no, marketing is so much more than social media. That's like
That's
one tiny part of it. Um, but what I love about it more than anything is the breadth of different things that you can do, and
right.
also working with such a different range of clients. I mean, I've been really, really lucky. I've worked in lots of different industry sectors. I've worked client side and agency side, and had a lot of fun along the way. So I would say what I love is the variety. That's what makes
Yeah.
it brilliant.
Mm.
And one of the other things that I think is a little bit frustrating, but it's always going to exist. I think it'd be really nice to move away from it, but it's the fact that marketing, I always feel, is the scapegoat.
Yes.
I'm not for a
Um,
second saying all marketeers are saints. Trust me, I'm not, because there are many a times I've been in teams where we've gone off and done what we've thought is absolutely wonderful and brilliant without taking everybody else's comments on board and the rest of the team, and maybe people who were actually facing the client, like the sales team. So believe me, I'm not saying we're saints, but quite
mm.
often if something doesn't work, it's always, oh well, let's blame marketing. The fact it was a joint effort and everybody had the ideas together and we all came up with the plan, that's
Yeah.
kind of forgotten if something doesn't work. Of course, everybody wants to take the praise when it does,
Yes.
and that's one of the things. And I think one of the biggest achievements in marketing would be to so everybody who works in any business realizes that every single person is part of marketing. Everybody does marketing. It isn't just the marketing team, it is the person on reception, it is somebody dealing with customer service, it is the salesperson, it is the technical person. It doesn't matter what role you play. You are all part of marketing for that company because that is what your values are, and that's what you should live by. So I wish people would embrace that concept of we're all part of the same team and we're all on the same side.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm. That's right. I think it would be beneficial and definitely make marketers' life easier. I love the fact that you said that we all do marketing in different capacities, regardless of the department. And I think it's they're all customer touch points, right? Whether it's the lady in
Absolutely.
accounts, whether it's the lady on reception or the gentleman, we need to, or the company needs to present itself as professional and loyal to these values that they present on the website, right? Maybe putting the customer first, etc. That needs to transpire through all interactions. Everybody has to put in the work to create that positive customer experience. And yeah, I think the fact that you also have both B2B and B2C profile makes you a very well-rounded marketer, because you have seen things from both perspective. Um, and you're definitely a generalist at heart to an extent. You like the variety, and I've had some coaching discussions like last week, and mentoring chats as well, about those decisions that people contemplate about whether to specialize in a field or to stay a generalist. And there is no right or wrong answer. It very much depends on what you as an individual enjoy. I very often make reference to the four career types that people might want to learn more about. But one career type is the expert. And so those are the people who like to specialize in a specific field. So say it could be PPC, paid media, etc. For them, it's really important to become the best at what they do. Whereas we also have the generalist, or people interested in the linear career, for example, who just want to like move up the ranks, and they do enjoy the variety of the work. So if you enjoy doing a little bit of everything, then the generalist path is the right one for you. You are a storytelling expert, and I can attest that you are extraordinaire, because I attended a recent event. We were both at this marketing event here in Lancashire, and your presentation was just gripping. So
Yeah.
yes, we definitely want to learn from you what good marketing looks like. And if you could kindly give us a channel agnostic overview, that would be great. And then we'll focus on the power of storytelling.
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny you say that about being a generalist. For years and years, I've kind of always said, I can do everything. I'll do everything. And to a certain extent, of course, having been in it for so long, I can do so much because I've lived through it and done it, and done campaigns involving every aspect of it. But you also, I think, get to a stage, and it's what I spend my life saying to my children, to friends, colleagues, family, is do what you love. If you do what you love, it makes life so easy, because you just go with your flow, because you're living by your passion.
Yeah.
And there's no two ways about it. My passion is absolute storytelling, and that lends itself very much to what you're saying is the journey of marketing, and how it is, and looking at it, and everything is based, should be based on the customer,
Mm.
not on you and what you do, but actually what you deliver to the customer.
100%.
And your brand is absolutely central to that. But what is central to your brand are your values. So what I would always say to everybody is start with your brand values. What are your values? What is it you want people to see, feel, believe about you? And for me, it's all about being honest, being truthful, and just being really open
Mm.
to those discussions with people. And it's really, really important to get that bit across. And those values, exactly as we've been saying, should come across in absolutely everything, every touch point. And that's what really good marketing is about. It's about consistency.
Yeah.
It's about that absolute consistency in everything that you do, so that people can tell your brand values straight away. You can take your huge brands like your M&S. They were the company, I think, who got the most negative feedback, but that's because they asked for the feedback. They went and said, we would like to know what you think, because they wanted to help, they wanted to support. And that is what they are like. They're warm, comforting. I still have my mother, who is in her 80s, who will go nowhere else, because she lives by their values. And
Mhm.
there's something warm, comforting, friendly. And that's what they get across. And all these decades on, they still do that.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by brand values, is who you are, what you stand for, and really stick with that. And I think one of the other big things with marketing is that I certainly find with my clients is people try and do too much. You almost feel like, oh, I must do this, I must do social media, and I must do advertising, and I must go on the radio, and I must do, lots and lots of different things. I would actually say the beauty and the power is in the simplicity of doing a few. And if I take myself as an example, I only do 4 things for myself. I make sure my website is up to date. I keep my LinkedIn profile up to date and post on it regularly. I send out a newsletter and I do networking meetings.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
But if I tried to add a 5th, or I tried to do a lot more, I would do them badly. Whereas by concentrating on just the 4, I do them consistently, regularly, and do them really well. And I say that to every client is pick the things that will reach your target audience, the type of people you want to speak to. Look at where they are, what they do, do the research, understand your audience. And I think too many times, too many businesses make assumptions. And they think they know their client and they actually don't. And it's understanding their client's values, their client's perceptions, what they can relate to. And it's that being relatable part. And that's really important, because you can spend a fortune on marketing or you don't spend a fortune on marketing and you can still do brilliantly because you're hitting the right target audience with the right tone of voice, with the right messages in the right mediums. So it's really understanding, being consistent and being very picky with what you do. And trialling things. Some things might work wonderfully and other things might not, but give them a go and try them for a little while, because things don't happen overnight. And that's another thing with marketing, is people think the results come in the next day, and they don't. And they don't. And I'm not a huge metrics girl. I know metrics are important, believe me, and I know that you should definitely look at them, but I'm not driven by them. So for me, it's much more about the human engagement, etc. So, you'll get people going, oh, I've got X thousand followers on LinkedIn and etc., etc. But for me, it's more about engagement. Who's talking to you? Who's responding to you? Who are you engaging with? And that's so much more important than the metrics are. So I think it's really important to really get a grasp of those fundamentals of really engaging, knowing who your customer is, and engaging in a way that they will find you relatable.
That is really, really sound advice. And I think that will stand the test of time, because focus is so important. And we know marketers are pulled in so many directions, and there's a lot of pressure from stakeholders for marketing to do more and more and more things, or jump on the latest channel. And that's why many a times, especially if you have one marketing person, the efforts are diluted on way too many channels, way too many marketing initiatives. And it can be hard to push back. But I think if you have this principle at heart, you can convince the stakeholders that, maybe in Q1 you need to do a limited set of activities or set of campaigns, but do them very well, and then measure and decide what you're going to do in Q2 accordingly. Now, of course, also marketing plans, they're done on a yearly basis, but that principle of focus can be applied as well, because not everything matters. And going back to the importance of customer feedback, I think marketers would do well to also think about customer preferences, like where do they consume information, where are they, because they're not going to be on all the channels, and they have a preferred way of interacting with your company or with brands in general, and so focus on these particular areas. Look at your data from previous quarters or years, right? If you see that your newsletter, for example, is doing very well, then that's a indication that that's how they want to consume maybe company announcements or product information, etc. Focus on what really matters and moves the needle, also from a profit and or revenue and lead generation perspective, because if you're trying to do everything, you might end up actually not generating the right amount of leads, not generating revenue, and then you will be blamed for that as the marketer. of course.
What you said is, which I think is really important, is the pushback. And it is really challenging, particularly if you are a one-person team or you're a very small team in a bigger environment. It's very, very, very difficult because the perception is, marketing, we want you to go and do this is the latest trend. This is what everybody else is doing. Why are we not doing it? Without actually, as you say, thinking about the customer, thinking about what it is they look at, where they feed. We know that we are in a world full of noise now, really full of noise. So how do you differentiate yourself? Doing the same as everybody else isn't going to make you any different if all you're doing is copying everybody else. That's not the answer. It's about honesty, authenticity, and about being really you. And I think that's really difficult sometimes to get across to people. That it isn't just jumping on the bandwagon and saying, I'm going to put a post on social media every day and reeling off stuff that is meaningless.
Yeah.
People will click through and maybe like it, but they don't engage with it, and it has no meaning. And as you say, when you look at the bottom line, it has no impact on profitability. It has no impact on growth in customer recruitment, etc., etc. And it really is looking at those elements. Really looking at those aspects, but it is really challenging, and I completely respect how difficult it is. And I hit the same thing as a marketing consultant going in. Sometimes companies have done it in a certain way all the time, and that change can be quite daunting for them as well. So it's that hand-holding process as well, and doing it slowly, maybe introducing one new change at a time, rather than, even if the whole thing is an absolute mess, rather than changing it all, bring it in gradually, and get them to trust you. Get them to trust you as the marketing team, whether you're internal or you're an external advisory role, wherever you sit, get them to trust you, that you know what you are talking about. It's almost like saying what I think is quite it's quite ridiculous, really, if you think about it. If we had the accounts team in an organisation saying, we're going to change how we do it, we're going to start to use this system because it's going to benefit you in this and this way, we rarely challenge that, do we? We'll say, you're the experts, If marketing comes along and say, we're going to change all of this because we believe this, and this will benefit us, people go, I'm not sure about that.
Right.
Oh, I'm not. So there's such a different perception of marketing sometimes in organisations compared to other departments. The same with HR. If HR come and say, there's these new systems, this will help with staff recruitment or staff retention, people go, okay. But it's not always received in the same way in marketing. I don't know if you feel the same as well.
Yeah, I am nodding my head emphatically. Everybody feels entitled to have an opinion about marketing,
Absolutely.
suggesting trends or social media channels or content. So, not saying yes to everything is a superpower, but it's very difficult to do when you're just at the beginning. And I remember my own experience of feeling almost compelled to say yes to people's suggestions because you are new, because it just feels very difficult to push back. And I would kind of go back to data again. As a marketer, you have data at your disposal. You can look at data and say, but what would be the point of either going viral or implementing a specific tactic when we see from past data that doesn't work or doesn't resonate with our customers. So there's so much noise, so many opinions from within the organization, and some of them are valid, by the way. Salespeople, for example, can very well inform marketing's message because they are in constant touch with the client, and product development, for example, they can be very valuable sources of information if you work for a product-based business.
Yeah, very much. Just picking up on what you said, I think everybody will have a valid point, and I think it's incredibly important to get everybody involved, whether it's the person on reception, the person in the accounts team, the salesperson, the technical person, the product person. They all are part of the team who produce whatever it is the company delivers. So they have a valid opinion there. So I think sometimes the person with the best ideas might be somebody sat in accounts. So it's absolutely not saying don't take their points on board, but then let the expert lead. Take all the opinions on board. Take what's good, leave out what's not, because there's always going to be a huge mix of things. But then let them be the expert. Let them be the expert to lead on what, after taking your comments on board, on what they want to do. So I'm 100% for involvement, because for me, what I've witnessed over the years is, if you have a team's buy-in, you're off. If somebody in that team isn't on board, they will niggle at absolutely everything you do. They will pick holes in everything. So for me, having that buy-in at the beginning is what you need more than anything. Is get, you might not be able to get absolutely everybody's buy-in, but as long as you get the majority on board, and that is really important, get them to understand what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're doing it, ask them for their input, but give them a voice as well. Because I think if they're involved and they've bought into the concept, then they're going to back you. Even when things don't quite work out, they'll still be on your side. And it's exactly the same to me as the people in your own team are as valuable as your own customers. So for me, for a customer, if you've got somebody who's very loyal to you, even if you make a mistake and something is horribly wrong, they're far likely to still stick with you than if you've not got them on board in the first place and you've not built a relationship with them. So it's all about that relationship. And I think marketeers would do so much better if they opened up and allowed the discussion much wider than just the marketing team. Get everybody on board, get everybody to buy in, and get everybody to understand, because I've been in so many environments where marketing are going off and doing whatever they're doing, and the rest of the company hasn't got a clue.
Yeah.
And you think, hang on a minute, that can't be right. Yeah. But that's what happens, because there's these little silos and everybody works in their own little teams and everybody's defensive and protective. And to me, the value for any business is teamwork, is everybody working together for the same goal, because everybody is working towards the same goal.
That's true, yes.
And it's getting everybody on board.
So true. And I think a lot of that is has something to do with the leadership as well, and whether they have this unifying approach and ability. Let's move on to the storytelling side of things. How can we really cultivate our storytelling skills, especially if, for example, we might not feel naturally inclined towards that as marketing professionals?
Well, it's funny, absolutely anybody I speak to who goes, oh, I haven't got anything interesting to tell. I haven't got any stories. What could I talk about? And you know what? 10, 15 minutes later, you're having a conversation about nothing to do with anything specific to do with their business or company. And they're off. They're telling you a story. So we all have stories is the first thing everybody's got to realise. Everything has a story, whether it's about the business, the product, the service, the people, why a business started, what the passion of the business is, what the business is trying to achieve, all those different things. There is real value in that. So I think it's getting people to understand that there is real value in their own businesses, and that they do have a story to tell. So for me, it's cherry picking their stories, and sometimes I think more than anything, it's cherry picking things that are a little bit different about you, about your business, because people, I think it goes back to human nature. People are nosy. People want to know. People want to know who you are, what you do, why you do it. And as human beings, we all love stories. It goes back to Day Dot in the cave with the pictures on the wall which told a story, sitting around a fire and a campfire, all telling stories. That's how people share, that's how people learn, that's how you share knowledge, expertise. And storytelling, to me, is probably one of the most powerful things you can use to bring your brand to life. And for me, there's been some neuroscience studies that show that when you listen to a story, you don't just listen, your brain loves it. So just think about, a film that you love. A film that you love that really grips you. So when you're there, I know for me, I love films. I don't watch TV really, but I love films. And I am there. I am absolutely 100% present, living whatever is going on.
Mm.
But your brain, there are parts of your brain that are activated like you are living that experience. That it's not just on the screen, but you are living it.
Yeah.
That's the power of a story. So if you can use your business to tell a story, if you think about it, you think about the Christmas advertising that goes on. When you, let's take a silly example, Kevin the carrot. Aldi use a carrot. A carrot is a carrot. What is exciting about a carrot? Nothing really, is there? You know, we were all told years ago they would make you see better, etc., etc. But a carrot is a carrot. But
Yeah.
Aldi have brought a carrot to life through Kevin the carrot. And he's told his stories through the years, and they've used the theme. And I think this year he got married, or he was about to get married. I'm not sure, I didn't follow. But it's so cute, and people are so enticed, and people look forward to it. So it's using a theme. So nowhere in there do they go, here, this bag of carrots is only this much, or this potato, or this parsnip. They don't talk about the product, but they make you feel really emotionally attached to it. And that's the magic of it. So it's creating that emotion with your stories. And it's nowhere near as difficult as people think. And I think it's almost thinking of your stories, thinking of your people as stories. And they don't have to be... People always think they need a really exciting story to tell. It doesn't need to be exciting. It can be something so simple, but just bringing it to life and having some emotion behind it.
Yeah.
And it holds such magic, because that's how you make people connect with you. It makes it relatable. You build relationships. And I think stories are magic. And we've told them forever. We've told them forever. And that's why people love them.
That's right. I mean, you did so well at your presentation to start your talk with a story, because you instantly caught our attention. You know, if you did the usual thing of "Hello, I am, I do," you know, and go through your entire bio, the whole experience would have been less memorable. But because you started with a story, we were all engaged from the very beginning. And like you said, engagement nowadays is so important because there is so much noise around. Yeah, I think storytelling can be challenging just because we do hear about it so much. Are there any resources that you think would be useful in this respect?
I think more than anything, I think what people should do is look at their own website, let's say, because I'm sure everybody will have a website. Look at the copy. Is that copy that you've got in your website about you? Or is it what the customer will value from you? What are their pain points that you're addressing?
Yeah.
What is it that you want them to feel that will make them interested in you as a business, your product, your service?
Yeah.
So really go away, pick just it's your about us, your homepage, just pick that up and have a look at it and see, does it address? So if somebody was walking down the street or somebody wanted your service, what would they be looking for? What do you address? So it isn't about, just if we take that example that I used that evening, one of the first things as well is there's something to do with memory. There's lots of, again, statistics that show that any new information is forgotten about, 50% of it is forgotten on the first day and 90% within a week. So you've got to make it memorable. Now, one of the things I know people have come back to me and said, oh, I talked to everybody about that plaster you told me about. So that A, they remembered it, and B, they've told the story again. So to me, it's making it memorable and it's having a catchy start. So exactly as you said, years ago, before doing the storytelling part or really homing in on it, I would have done exactly what you said. I'd have stood up and gone, hello, I'm Meena McDonald and I've been in marketing, blah, blah, blah. Boring, boring, boring. It's not interesting. It's not exciting. But I didn't. And instead of using PowerPoint, instead of doing any of that, it was just hold this one little piece up and just say, how many have used this? Knowing even if we've never used one, which surely every human being I know has used a plaster to put on a cut or with their child, will know what it's about. And it was just holding them. They're thinking, what on earth is she talking about? Where's she going with this? But that little piece of paper on the back of that plaster, we don't care about. Everybody throws in the bin. yet that is what my client makes.
It's so
And
important.
without it being spot on, absolute right level of stickiness to the millionth tiny little dot, it wouldn't work. And it's trying to get that message across. And it's if I can make a plaster interesting, or the back of a plaster, a piece of paper that's on a plaster interesting, you can make anything interesting. Honestly, you really, really can. And it's just thinking of fun, humorous ways. Again, people always go, oh, you need huge budgets to do this, that, and the other. I don't know if you've heard of a brand called Cereal. They're
Oh,
a cereal brand.
yes.
I am absolutely blown away. Their advert is one of the funniest adverts I've ever seen when they first launched it. And again, they're a disruptor in the market. Cereals are, it's a saturated market. It's got the big boys in it. It's had, the products, it has lots of positives associated with how good cereals are, and also the negatives with the sugar and the unhealthiness of it. They came in with a super healthy product, needed to disrupt the market, and they did it in just a brilliant, brilliant way. And what I can do is put a link to the advert at the end if anybody wants to have a look at it, because it's so funny. But
Mm.
they went in, and their brand values are obviously, they are funny, and they used humour. And humour, again, there's lots and lots of stats to show that your memory recall, if somebody makes you laugh, is huge. If
Mhm.
somebody's really funny, makes a big difference in your story if you can introduce humour to it. And I really think, have a look at whether you bring something to life in your copy that's on your website, or if there's any humour in your stories. But they use humour. They couldn't afford famous stars, so they found people in the streets with the same names as people who were famous, and used them in their adverts. And they were very open and very honest about it. And it's very funny. But their brand values, their colour, their vibrancy, it's consistent.
Mhm.
It's consistent, and they really get their message across by doing that. So it's that consistency, it's being relatable, understanding your audience. Their audience are people who want to eat healthy cereals. Now, I have to admit, I'm not really a cereal eater. I haven't been for years, but I've gone and bought it. I went and bought the boxes because I just wanted to try and see how good it is. And
Yeah.
it's just brilliant. So it shows it works. And that's the power of the story. And storytelling doesn't have to be just writing. It can be speaking, it can be on podcasts, it can be absolutely in any guise at all. It can be written. And people respond in different ways. So I would say create stories in different ways, so
Yeah.
that you can speak them, you can present them on a stage, you can write them, you can interact in different ways with them. They don't need to be long. They can
Yeah.
just be one small paragraph that just tells something that shows your character, that shows your values. And I think that's what it's about more than anything. I could have stood up that day and say, oh, I love storytelling and I've been in marketing, and therefore you should work with me because I know this. But I thought the best thing I could do is give a real example of what I deliver,
Yeah.
and therefore you can see what I do. And I think enough businesses don't do that. I think they talk about, our technical product is the best. It's this, it's that. See, I think people have almost got into this sort of mindset that by having a million letters, a million accreditations, this, that, and the other. And I
Mm.
understand that in certain professions that you need to have all of these accreditations and etc. But also, from my perspective, if I was a customer, I would expect them to have that. So them telling me they've got it doesn't make me excited. What
Mhm.
I want to know is anybody who, if you're going to see a doctor, you know that they're going to be fully qualified. But what I want to know is that doctor going to listen to me? Is he going to give me the time of day? If my mother's going to see him, is he going to listen to her? Is he going to be sympathetic and empathetic? And it's all of those things.
Mm.
So it's the bits that show you who you really, really are, not the bits that just say, yes, we're technical, we've ticked this box, ticked this box, ticked this box. No, it's the bit around it. It's the real
Yeah.
human part.
That's it. Yeah. And I think showcasing employees on social media,
Yeah,
making more of them or getting them to create content
absolutely.
and be visible on platforms like LinkedIn is very beneficial for B2B brands that can lack that human element, humanize the brand that way, and therefore, to an extent, they will do storytelling naturally. So thank you so much, Meena. I think
Thank
people will definitely want to be in touch with you and learn more about the power of storytelling. So could you please let us all know where we can find you online?
Yeah, absolutely. My website is meenamcdonald.com, really easy, and I am just Meena McDonald on LinkedIn as well. So they're my two things that I use. And if you'd like to sign up to my newsletter, which is just really simple and fun, once a month, just write to me at Meena at meenamcdonald.com. So it's really easy to find me, and as I say, it's nowhere near as complicated as people think. I think the harder people try, the more challenging they make it for themselves. It's a very natural skill we all have inside us. It's just bringing that out. And it's a beautiful thing to do, and it's a wonderful way of connecting businesses to their audiences.
Thank you very much. We'll definitely keep in touch.
Oh, thank you very, very much for having me.
Thank you very much.
Bye.